Have you ever felt like mixing your business and your music is kind of like mixing oil and water? Like they're just two things that are not supposed to be mixed together? Well, in today's video, I'm going to be showing you that not only can you mix them together, but those things are actually complementary of one another. But before I get into that, I recently made a very controversial statement on a video that I did recently called Why Musicians Fail in the Modern Age. And I made the statement, music is no longer your core product. I know, it's a very controversial statement. But then you had a lot of people that misunderstood the next thing that I said, which is music is your marketing. So let's dive into this because I think there was a lot of misunderstanding about that. And by understanding this, you actually understand that learning how to use your music as marketing is not a betrayal of your art, but it's actually something that's empowering for your art. So by the end of this video, you're going to understand that. So let's go into this bit by bit. Back in the day, when I say back in the day, I mean as early as the 1920s and as late as 2000, right? Back in the day, the main way that artists would view revenue was through music, okay? Now I want you to just look at this from a basic human psychology perspective, basic level. If there is an incentive to make something for money, do you think more or less people are going to now make that thing just to make money? Probably more people, right? More people are going to want to make something if just by making the thing they can make more money from it. So what am I talking about? Well, music used to be that. Music used to be something that could make enough money as a product itself that you didn't need to have any other products really, because the core product of your business was selling your music. Well, guess what? That created an incentive for labels to find bands and for bands to start that only made music for the purpose of selling records. Okay, well, now that leads to what a lot of people in the artistic community have complained about forever, which is that, commercialized music doesn't have authenticity, it's not very genuine, and all this kind of stuff, right? Well, what happened in 2001-ish? The whole industry got turned on its head, and fundamentally speaking, music ceased to be the core product generator that was generating revenue, for artists and musicians and labels. So during this period of like 2000 to 2015, the entire music industry didn't know what the heck to do, right? But here's the thing. I actually believe that this is one of those things that doesn't look good on the surface, but kind of is a good thing. And let me explain. What I mean is, if there's an incentive to make music for money, more people will make music just for money. But if there's not an incentive to make music for money, i.e. the situation we live in right now, where you're only getting 0.003 cents per stream because of supply and demand, you're getting this sort of thing happening to you. Now the people who would want to make music just for the sole purpose of making money are less incentivized to do that. So the people who want to make music are just people who genuinely love art and want to create music. And so to me, the place that we're living in now actually facilitates more authenticity, because the people who have an incentive to create music now are not people that are just looking to get rich quick by creating a band and riding a wave and making some money, living the rock star lifestyle. You have people that are genuinely wanting to create music that means something and is authentic, expressive, and true to who they are, right? So today, how many musicians are talking about today's situation like that? No, most musicians are talking about the situation of music isn't worth what it used to. It's so impossible to make a living off your music. I'm like, yeah, because if your music isn't the core product anymore and you're trying to make a living off that, then yeah, you're not going to be able to make a living because it's not your core product anymore. And you can get mad at me in the comment sections all you want, but that's just how the consumers, the fans, that's how they consume music now. They do it through Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music. They don't go to the record stores anymore and buy it. Things have changed. And so we can either sit back and wave our fist at the sky at how things aren't as good as they used to be, or we can look at the reality that we're living in right now. Because I want you to think about this for a second. If you're able to create authentic music that is true to yourself. And here's how that process works, by the way. When you go to create the music, you just create it for the love of the music. So for some of the people that were like, you're saying music is marketing, so you just create your music to be marketing? Like, no. You create your music as an authentic expression of who you are. And then from that point, once the art is created, now you can create an authentic brand that matches the authenticity of the music you're creating. So there's this whole misconception that by somehow creating a brand, you're diluting or distorting your music in some ungenuine, unauthentic kind of way. It's like, no, if you're authentic with your music creation and you're authentic with your brand creation, what do you have left? An authentic brand with authentic products and authentic music. Like, I don't understand where this idea comes that just because you create a brand around your music that's somehow a negative thing, because literally every single one of your heroes, for all the people that made those comments, I guarantee you every single one of your heroes used their music as a point of connection with their fans, and then the fans had an association to them as an artist based on the imagery that they put out, their brand, and were willing to buy hats, t-shirts, wristbands, stickers, right? VIP tickets, GA tickets, meet and greet, one day in the studio events. Like, they were able to create so many different products that weren't their music by the relationship they created with their audience through their authenticity as artists. Okay? So for some reason, people think that like business is not fun and not authentic and it's all bad. And then music is all good and it's all pure and there's nothing bad about it. So you can't mix the two. And I just fundamentally think that's a misunderstanding. I think that's just people that just really don't understand. And that's okay, because a lot of musicians have not been taught this information. So if you're watching this video and this is new to you, then this is for you, right? Because I know no one else is going to be teaching you this. So I'm going to go ahead and just be real with you for a second, The idea that mixing business and art is somehow a bad thing is all in the intention and how you do it, right? If I'm an artist who just creates music as some cheap marketing tactic to get people, there's a song called Dude Ranch. I don't recommend you look it up. You're probably going to now. Don't say I didn't warn you, but I don't recommend you look it up. It's very explicit. Trigger warning. But that song, to me, is the equivalent of putting out music to be cheap marketing, right? People listen to that music not because it's like an authentic expression of who they are, but it's more like a cheap, fun gimmick, right? Which again, if that's the art that you want to create, I'm not here to be the one to throw shade at you. Maybe the people in my comments will, but I'm not going to be the one to throw shade at you. What I'm saying is that the idea that just because you put a brand around your music makes you inauthentic is a totally wrong way of looking at it. Because a brand is just the association that your fans and people who are fans of your niche and genre, broadly speaking, the association they have to you. That's all your brand is. Think about Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters. What's his brand? Everyone instantly probably in their head thought that he's a rocker, he's a nice guy, he's kind of like a dad, in a sense he's got those dad vibes, right? Like, those things are Dave Grohl's brand. His ability to be humble, down to earth, but also be like a rock star and be a front man, but also be very genuine and sweet and do a lot of things for charity and stuff. And he has an association to him by the broader rock fans, and that's his brand. Does that make Dave inauthentic because we have an association to him as an artist? No. That's just him being a proper representative of his artistic project. In his case, it's a band. In your case, it may be a solo project. In either case, being the front man or the front woman or the personal representative, the person who's on all the social media and stuff of a band or a project, you're going to have a big role to play in the establishment of the brand that you create around your music, because people are going to be associating your music to that thing that you're doing. I want to give a little example here where there's a band called Small Town Titans, I believe that's their name, and they have this gimmick that they do online where it's called Will It Riff, and they'll take like a Guinness can and they'll look at the barcode and turn the numbers in the barcode into a guitar riff, and then they'll make a little song around it. And that sort of became one of their associations. So if you think, Will It Riff, someone making a song out of a barcode, you instantly think of this band because that's the association they've created. Now, is that a good association or a bad association? To me, I think time will tell, because think about it. Okay, they've set up for themselves a brand where they're recognized for this fun little gimmick, right? But does anybody know them for their original music? I'm not throwing shade at this band, by the way. I'm genuinely asking this question because maybe I'm just not in the loop. But to my knowledge, there may be some people who have checked out their band as a consequence of these fun videos, but the proportionality of people that are checking that out on their social media versus becoming listeners, I just don't know if that's there yet, because the gimmick, while has created a brand and association for this particular artist, may not be the one that they actually want. Because the branding image that you portray in front of people, you better make sure that it's exactly what you want, or else you may get associated with something that you don't want to be associated with. At some point, you may want to distance yourself from it, but people can't distance the association in their head from you. So this Small Town Titans band may at one point not want to do the Will It Riff segments anymore and just focus on their original music. They're going to have a lot of fans that are like, do Will It Riff again, do Will It Riff again, because they have an association they've created. So all a brand is the association that you can create for other people to have about you. So what would you want those things to be? Maybe you want people to think that you're a nice person. Maybe you want people to think that you're very giving. Maybe you want people to think that you're, anti-authority. Maybe you want people to think that you're enlightened and you're trying to share wisdom that's helpful. I don't know, right? Whatever you want people to think about your brand is how you calculate what kind of brand you create. But none of this has anything to do with creating art that doesn't mean anything and creating cheap products that don't mean anything as a consequence. Like, that is a total misreading of what the game and what the strategy is. So hopefully this helps clarify things up. Now, another misconception people had was like, oh, well, if I'm a musician and music isn't my core product, then I guess a chef's core product isn't his food. And I would say to you, yeah, it's not. Because if you think about it, food is the chef's art, right? How does a chef sell his art? Well, he has to go work for a restaurant, unless he opens up his own. Most chefs, though, go work in other people's restaurants as opposed to starting their own. Not everyone is Gordon Ramsay. And even Gordon Ramsay started off in other people's kitchens. So anyway, the whole point is they make this analogy like, well, if, music isn't a musician's core product, then I guess food isn't a chef's core product. It's like, no. The chef ultimately isn't getting paid, unless they own the restaurant. Most of the time they're not getting paid per dish. They're getting paid a salary. They're getting paid a wage to work in this restaurant and be a chef at the restaurant, right? So what are the other products that a chef could create? Well, cooking books, one-on-one coaching events, where they teach you how to cook certain things. Like, there's other things that chefs do. As you know, that's why the whole cookbook industry even exists, is because it's a way for chefs to monetize their knowledge and their art around cooking food. If they just went out and bought all the food for their meals that they prepped and just made them at their house, that's not going to make them any money. It's not really a product, right? Maybe they could try to sell it out of their house if they wanted to, and in that case it would be your product. But most chefs, food isn't their product. So there's this misconception that, well, if I'm a musician, music has to be my core product. What I'm saying is music can be a product, for sure. Maybe you want to have MP3 downloads of your music. Maybe you want to have a CD if your audience is in the demographic that still buys CDs. Maybe you want to sell vinyls. That's turning your music into a product, and some people like buying those products. Cool. Is that going to be, though, the main product that a majority of your fans are willing to spend their money on? Most of the time, no. Now, your diehard fans, sure, they'll buy everything, right? They'll buy all your MP3 downloads and all that kind of stuff. But the casual fans, they're more likely to buy a cool t-shirt, a cool hat, a cool beanie, cool wristband, cool sticker. Something really small, or like a shirt, a hoodie, a sweatshirt, glasses, flip-flops, shorts, socks, these type of things. They're going to buy those anyway. Might as well have some from your favorite artist, right? So there's ways to view your music as a product. But what I'm saying is music is no longer the core product. What does core product mean? Core product means the main thing people are buying. And I guarantee you, the main thing people are buying is not your music. They're buying the commodities around your brand that they even care about to begin with because they like your music. So you see, the music can be created with total authenticity. You're not thinking about business at all because ultimately you want to attract the people that are into what you're authentically trying to create as an artist, right? So you don't want to be inauthentic when you're writing the music. That's a bad idea. What you want to do is be as authentic as possible and then figure out, how do I present myself in a way, brand, so that people will feel these feelings about me and my music whenever they encounter? What are the visuals they'll need to see? What are the, lyrics? What are the, all these kind of things that I can showcase from my art that shows people what my brand is. And then once people have built up this affinity to me as an artist because they like my music, right? The marketing, the music got people like, yeah, dude, this is so cool. I love this song. I love this song. I love this song. Now that's somebody where you're like, hey, well, if you wanted to help me on the journey to creating more music that you like, one of the best ways that you can support me is by buying a t-shirt, or is by buying a hat, buying this new beanie. That is some ways that you can turn your fan base into people who are willing to support you, and you don't have to be sleazy about it. There's another misconception that people think, like, just because you're selling something that therefore you can't be authentic and sell something. It's like, for example, if I'm a personal trainer and I know that my routine will help you be healthier and less obese, can I still be authentic when selling you my training program? Yeah, of course, because I know my product will ultimately be a good thing for your life. Where music is the same kind of thing. It's not as extreme as an example as health, for example. It's more of a luxury item when you really think about it. But music is supposed to make people's lives better. It's supposed to be something you throw on in the club to have a good time. It's supposed to be something that you throw on when you get home to relax. It's supposed to be something that you listen to while you're playing your favorite video game that helps you zone out. It's supposed to be something that helps you feel good and escape, and or maybe dive in to your feel, whatever. It's supposed to be a good thing, right? So getting people involved into your brand and your music is ultimately a good thing, right? Some of my favorite memories of my entire life are associated with artists, their music, and their products. I have t-shirts in my closet right now from shows that I've been to that if I hold that shirt in my head or my hand, it doesn't fit anymore. I've gotten a little bigger since then. But when I look at it, the feelings I have, the memories I have, the smell of it that brings back more of those memories, like, that is such a priceless item. It was worth way more than the $30 I paid for it. It was worth infinitely more than that because of the memories and what those memories meant to me. Like my first concert, I have the t-shirt from my first concert, and when I hold that thing, I think about the day after, how I was so motivated to go play my guitar, and you couldn't stop me. I was ready to rock and roll and all this kind of stuff, man. Like, you're providing that for other people. You're providing those moments where they go to a show and you may think, well, I didn't play at this big venue. It doesn't matter. I've had people watch my band in these tiny little venues, but because we cared enough about the audience to say, it's okay that there's only a handful of people here, let's just give them the best show possible. We were able to build a connection with those people. They got merchandise items, and sometimes we'll get pictures from 10 years ago of people like, I have this hanging on my wall, and every time I see it, it reminds me of that night, and I had such a great time that night, and all these kind of things. It's like, we think because we're small artists that we have small impact on people's lives. But even as a small independent artist, you can have a huge, tremendous impact on people's lives based on that connection that you build with your music. And then if you're able to get them to come to a show or get them to buy a t-shirt, you're just furthering that connection. So there's nothing really inauthentic or sleazy about selling products around your brand. you're helping people have those connections and associations. Like I said, I've got so many concert t-shirts that have all individual memories, and I'm glad their merch people sold them to us. I didn't feel manipulated or tricked, or I don't ever leave a restaurant going, oh my gosh, how dare they sell me all this delicious food. It's one of those things. So you don't need to feel weird about selling your music, because you're actually providing something genuinely valuable to people's lives. So there's benefits of using your music as marketing, because like I said, we're weeding out the people who want to just make music for money. You can say what you want about that in the comments, but to me, when you have music as marketing, I can create whatever kind of music I want. I can be as authentic as I want to be, and then just market it and find the people that resonate with it. What's wrong with that? That's a big benefit, because you actually find people that are more alike in what your tastes are as an artist, and therefore you can find fans who will be diehards and extreme fans. So you can leverage your marketing to just create this bond with your fans. But that's the first step in a music business, is creating the bond between artist and fan. And then once that bond is created, now what we can do is say, hey, do you want more art? Well, you supporting me is directly responsible for more art. And if we're able to position it that way, we can frame it to where, some people say, well, these big bands are struggling with their email lists and blah, 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 blah. Like, yeah, I've seen, because their strategies are antiquated. They're old. Like, some of the stuff, I'm signed up for my favorite band's email list, and I get emails like, man, I wish they would call me. I really do, because I have other clients who I work with that are nowhere near as big as those artists, and they're getting 45% open rates, not less than 10%, as one commenter said, and they're getting sales from fans who actually like their stuff. I actually have a client who raised $10,000 in 30 days through crowdfunding strategies in his business. Like, isn't that crazy? So yeah, like, people like to look at big bands and like, well, they're doing it differently. And this is honestly going to be a topic. I'm going to make a whole video about this concept, about how artists that got success in the music business a business that doesn't exist anymore, try to give advice to younger musicians, and it just ends up confusing everybody, because they blew up in a time that doesn't exist anymore. They don't even really know why they blew up, and now they're trying to give you advice about how to blow up in an industry that's not even the same one they were talking about. So that's a whole other video for another day. We'll have to dive into that another time. But the point is, using your music as your marketing is not a betrayal. Using your music as marketing is, in my opinion, aligning the incentives and making it to where the only people that are making music are people who genuinely want to make art. And then once that art is created, you can now take a step back. I created a cool piece of art. Now, since I'm trying to become a professional musician, if you were just a hobbyist, you would stop there, right? If you're just a hobbyist who wants to make music, then cool, you would just stop right there. But since you're trying to become a professional independent musician, now you look at this piece of art you created and you go, cool, how do I create a brand around all these songs I've created that is uniquely me, it's authentically me, and it attracts people into my world that would be genuine fans of my music and would be willing to support me. That's the purpose of music as your marketing, not to devalue your art and make it to where you're just going, just put out the music as some catchy, grabby thing so that we could sell t-shirts. That's not how you look at this business, right? So again, music is no longer the core product. It's a product that you can sell, but it's no longer the core product. Instead, what we need to figure out is, how do I take my music and use it more as marketing so that I can attract a fan base, build that connection, and then the brand that I create around my music can have a host of products that people will be more likely to buy and want to buy because they have this connection built up through the music. So in that sense, that's how a genuine independent music business works. It's direct marketing and direct sales. We don't have labels taking percentages of stuff from us. And I have other people that, like, oh, this sounds like a lot of work. Why don't I just get managers and other people to do it? Well, here's the thing. If you're in a position in your career where people aren't knocking on your door so much that you have to shoo people away, you don't need a manager. If you get a manager before that, you're just lighting money on fire because you think it's a good idea. I've done it. That's why I'm telling you that, by the way. It's because I did it. When I very first started my career, I thought, okay, first thing we need to get a manager. And started paying them $300 a month to manage our career. It didn't go very well. We had to stop doing that after a while. So people that think, well, you should just hire out all this stuff so you can be, focused to make the music. Hey, if you've got the money through other means to do that, then that might be a way to go. But most artists don't have the funds to pay people to do those things. What you'll be doing is more like what Michael Gerber talks about in his book, The E-Myth, is you're going to be operating in the systems of your music business. You're going to be the one in there doing the nitty-gritty details. But you'll do it enough times and you'll get good at it so that you can go, okay, I know what this looks like when it's done right. And now when I go to the people that I delegate this work out to, I know if they're professionals or not based on how they operate. But if I don't even know how this works, how am I going to know whether they're professional or not? Like if I don't know how a merch table is supposed to run smooth, efficiently, and professionally, then how am I going to know what it looks like when I hire someone else to run the merch table and I've never done it myself? I don't even know what it looks like when it's done professionally and all up to code and all that kind of stuff. But if you actually go through it and you go through your merch table systems and you learn how everything works to be like a well-oiled machine, as soon as you hire a merch person, you can go, I can breathe because I have a whole system written out. They just follow the system and I can trust that everything's going to be done right. That's going to be the process for a lot of you. You'll build out some stuff and then you'll hire it out eventually. If you're traveling around, you're going to be the driver for a while until you can afford to hire a driver. But at least by that point, you'll know what it looks like so that when you hire a driver, you'll know whether this person's the real deal or not. So you see, it's like, yeah, it's a lot of work, but it takes what it takes. Like, if I can impart anything to you today that you take away from this video, is that the music business takes what it takes. Yeah, we can sit around and wish that the music business was a different way. We can wish that things were the way they used to be. But that's not going to help you. What's going to help you is acknowledging the reality that you live in right now and taking action to actually see some results. Because otherwise, we're sitting around waiting for the world to change. Not meaning to quote John Mayer. We're just sitting around with our hands tucked underneath our butts, just sitting there. I hope the world changes one day. While other people out there are like, listen, I can still make the authentic music I want to make and reach fans who are going to love my authentic music. I just have to change the way that I've been doing things. And that's what they did. And they started to get results. But there's a lot of artists that are fighting that change. They're fighting that change of, if I just do what's necessary, if I do what it takes, I'll start to see results. But if I sit around and complain about what it takes, of course you'll never get results. So I hope you guys start to reframe how you view social media, branding, and all this kind of stuff. Hopefully you can look at it now as, okay, I don't have to be anybody that I'm not. I can be exactly who I am as an artist and just figure out, how do I need to present myself to this genre that I'm trying to be in, this niche that I'm trying to live within, in a way that they'll get it, in a way that they'll see who I authentically am, and that marketing will attract those people who will dig the things that I'm authentically putting out. So otherwise, we're deceiving people and we're trying to be someone we're not, and that's going to lead to a whole bunch of pain. So I would love to know what you guys think. Drop a comment about your thoughts as music as marketing as opposed to music as the core profit. And I hope you guys really take this to heart, because I know this is a painful lesson for a lot of artists to learn, is that you can't just expect to make a living selling just the music. I mean, by the way, there's some people who have, but they're the exceptions rather than the rule, right? So what you want to do is strive for something that's sustainable. Yes, if you happen to be one of the unicorns that your streams blow up to millions and millions of streams every single month, yeah, you want to be that person, but heck, even if you were that person, you would still want to have the business infrastructure in place to really maximize that so you could truly reinvest into yourself and grow yourself as an independent artist, as opposed to someone who just has one stream of income, and if that dips, then they're screwed, right? So hopefully we understand now that there's a lot of value in viewing your music as marketing, because now you're not making music for money. You're making music to connect with people. You're making music because it's something that's genuinely something you want to create. So I hope this video changed your perspective on a lot of different things and gave you tons of value. If it did, hit the subscribe button, the like button, the notification bell, all that good YouTube-y stuff. And I look forward to seeing you guys on another video.